So before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about where I got this shirt from, and you probably guessed it, jerseyfifa.com. They have kindly sponsored today's video and also sent me a load of free shirts for me to check out myself, and I can now really vouch for the quality of these products. They have loads of shirts to offer on the website, so if you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and check out Jersey FIFA for yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I am in a good mood because we saw a much better Manchester United performance. Still not perfect, but much better than recently. But more importantly, in the top 4 race this season, we saw a win. Yes, only 1-0. Yes, it could have been more convincing. But right now, Manchester United really needed some points on the board after, 3 games in the league without a goal. 3 games in a row, obviously, as a result, without a win. United needed these 3 points. And they delivered. And I think Ten Hag would have got the response which he really wanted. Yes, I think it could have been better, more refined, maybe more ruthless in the final third, but in general this was just such a better performance. So of course that's what we're going to talk about today, because we saw better individual performances, but also as a team it was much better than recently. And actually the game didn't quite go how I was expecting it to. I was really worried about Brentford's high press. I thought that they were going to go really high in these areas like this, kind of cut off the centre backs and the full backs and make it really difficult for David De Gea in goal. And I guess to an extent they did. You know, we saw Varane and Lisandro Martinez both dropping in. But more often than not, Manchester United chose to go much more direct with the goal kicks, which was something I was hoping for, and it worked basically. Now, in terms of where we were going long to, it wasn't quite as expected, because of course Weghorst wasn't in the team, and Rashford isn't the same kind of physical specimen which Weghorst is. However, what United done really well in this game is, firstly, for the first 60-65 minutes, De Gea was hitting really good areas with his long passes, so that was a good start. But the most important thing, Manchester United got on the second ball. And actually thinking about it, that is what I said in my preview. Get on the second ball in midfield and you've got a very good chance. And that's what United done. So because they're pushing everyone forward and going long, it means that Brentford are now in more of a back 5 rather than a back 3. The wing backs are a lot deeper. Which means that United can go long, and if they win the second ball, which Sabitzer, Fernandes and McTominay done really well. Even Rashford, to be fair, was aggressive in these areas on the second ball, but also the centre-backs as well. If, say, Norgard was heading it back into these areas and Tony was going to challenge it, then Varane was nice and aggressive, right on him straight away, not letting him turn and get anywhere. And as a result, this meant that United could get the ball in midfield. And what I liked from here, though, was just they took that moment, that split second of calm, to slow it down, and rather than quickly playing forward, they chose to play to the fullbacks. And the United fullbacks were really important in this game, because as we can see quite clearly on the screen here, with the wingers pushing high and pinning the Brentford wingbacks back, it means that United fullbacks have a lot of time. So in these areas, rather than quickly playing forward, United slowed it down and went to the fullback. And that was the first thing which they done really well. They got on the second ball, but then slowed it down and they showed quality. And, you know, what probably emphasises this space for the fullbacks the most, particularly on the left-hand side, was that Luke Shaw completed more passes than any Brentford player, despite going off injured on the 37th minute. That probably kind of highlights, one, the control that United had, but also the amount of room that the fullbacks were getting. And this was really key, because what it done was it allowed United to now kind of settle down and build possession and dominate and take control of the ball. And like I said, dominate the possession numbers, the territory numbers, the field tilt heavily in Manchester United's favour. And it meant that they could build possession in a 2-3 shape, with Bruno Fernandes sitting as the pivot, which we'll come back onto, and Sabitzer and McTominay pushing slightly further forward. And then we've got the 2 fullbacks, wider than what you would typically expect in this system. But like I said already, the reason that they were able to do this was because Brentford had no wide player to go and engage. And this genuinely just instantly gives United a really nice base to build from, because the fullbacks have lots of time on the ball. We've got Lisandro Martinez, who's very comfortable on the ball, and also Bruno Fernandes, who's happy to get on the ball in these areas. And it just meant that United played at a much slower tempo than what they have done in recent weeks. And that's not a criticism. That's a big positive. United have been far too direct recently. This allowed them to just slow down, take some time on the ball and play from there. And then when that happens, and you're coached by a manager like Erik Ten Hag, then you start to see patterns developing in different areas of the pitch, and that's where you really take control and can win games, basically. And it's what happened in this game. But for me, Bruno Fernandes is the one that really deserves credit. We know that he can be a bit erratic with his passing, but not in this game. He kept it nice and basic, basically. He kept it really simple, and kept the ball ticking over for his side. He was a high-volume player, getting on the ball constantly, and making things happen. But actually what I liked the most was the way that he was drifting from side to side. So let's say Luke Shaw would have the ball here, Bruno Fernandes would drift over. And what we can see that this is going to allow is it allows Manchester United to get 4 players in this area, which then means when you've got technically secure players like Sancho and Antony on the wings, as well as the fullbacks, it allows United to progress the ball really easily. And actually, they've done this really, really well, but again, quite easily. Sancho and Antony on the wings are two players who they may not always beat their man, but you're pretty confident they're not going to lose the ball, and their passing is nice and secure in these areas. Which means that if you've got the overload, like United have here, Shaw can play to Fernandes, who plays to Sancho to play to Savitzer, and then maybe Sancho makes another run. It's quite simple, but it's this quick passing move football with sharp passing, accurate passing in these areas, and a good first touch. It allows you to get into these areas, and this is what United done really well, and it was the same down the other side as well. It could be Fernandes drifting over, or at times it could be McTominay, but it was just a cleanness on the ball. It was just keeping the ball rather than losing the ball for the sake of it. It was much better in possession. The first touch was much better. The weight of pass was much better. The kind of respect for the player you're passing to by giving them a nice weight of pass was just far, far better. Now, of course, Brentford didn't just let United do this. For example, if the ball did go this way, let's go back to the left-hand side, and Bruno Fernandes drops over, we would see Damsgaard come over, and then Norgard, and then Jensen comes over to try and, crowd one side. But again, what United done really well was they didn't try and play through that too quickly. Instead, they would come out and then go back out the other side, where we can see that the fullback is now going to be the spare man. And again, this allows United to step forward and progress the ball into the final third. And just genuinely, I thought the ball progression was really, really good in these areas. But again, I need to go back to Bruno Fernandes because he was just so good. And I got some numbers for him somewhere. These are his numbers from the match last night. If you gave me, just these stats and said which player from any team in the Premier League produced these numbers, Bruno Fernandes wouldn't be in my top 100 guesses. This is not what we expect from Bruno Fernandes. 114 touches. United have been crying out for a midfielder which can do that for years and years. But to have 87% pass accuracy with his passes is the most important thing. But also we can see that it didn't completely dull his creativity because he still had 3 key passes. Genuinely just a really, really good all-round performance. Do I think that Bruno is the long-term solution to this kind of issue, this problem? Just knocked my pen off the desk. No. Do I think he's a solution? No. However, he did do really, really well in this game, and perhaps for the next couple of games with Eriksen still out, he could do a job there, because genuinely he was brilliant. And with United taking so much control on the game, it even allows them to move to like a 3-1-6 at times. We could see Varane, Lisandro Martinez, and Luke Shaw, and then also Tyrell Malacia when he came on, he done really well. Bruno Fernandes kind of sitting deeper, and then the rest of the players pushing much, much higher like this. And what this is going to do is it gives United a front 6 to attack a back 5, which again means that you've got the extra man. But I think what was important as well was the rotations that we saw in this area. So we often talk about the rotations for United down the left-hand side, but actually in this game, I felt that it was Antony and Dalot who were combining really well. And let's say again that the ball is being built down this side, it might go back inside to Bruno. The switch then, and then the timing of movement from Dalot and Antony was really good. And it made United far less predictable. Sometimes Antony is coming inside and trying to work a shot on his left foot. He maybe had too many shots doing that, but I like the kind of confidence to do so. But also there were situations where he would go down the outside and try and take on his man. Again, the final third delivery could improve, but in general it's just much better for United. And I also like the rotations down the left as well. Sancho, Savitzer, but also Marcus Rashford coming into these areas as well. We know that when Rashford plays up front, he likes to move into a channel, and I thought he was really good on the ball. But it also allowed Sancho to move more narrower. And again, this is a player who thrives in these areas, moving inside where he can use his kind of tight passing, his quick passing in these areas to hurt oppositions. And he done it. He done it really well. I thought Jadon Sancho had a really good performance. Again, we need to see a bit more from the whole team in general in terms of the final third, in terms of chance creativity. They didn't really create much from open play. It was the set piece that they got the goal. However, you kind of buy that bit of fortune by sustaining pressure. And the way that they sustained pressure was by getting these players forward, being clean and secure on the ball, but also counter-pressing. Recently, we've seen United losing the ball and then reacting in the wrong way. Often their first thought is to head backwards and not really apply pressure to the ball. That wasn't the case in this game. I thought Rashford in particular done a really good job of getting around the ball, but also the whole team is going to squeeze nice and high. So even if Brentford go long, I thought Varane and Lisandro Martinez were brilliant on Tony and Mbeumo. Fernandes done a brilliant job again of getting on the second ball, and again it just wins the ball back for United and then allows them to build another attack. And when you're building attacks at that rate, it does lead to set pieces. United had loads of corners in this game, more than which I can remember recently. And, when you give quality teams like United a lot of corners, eventually one of them ends up in the back of the net. So, yes, it wasn't perfect in the sense of United need to create more. It was a massive step in the right direction, especially after the performances of the last few games, before the international break and also the game against Newcastle at the weekend. This was just so much better. Much more controlled, much more about possession, moving people into different positions, trying to manipulate the ball but also the opposition, where they are positioned once again. All round, it was actually just a really good performance. Again, we could see a bit more in the final third, but that comes with time. You know, these things, it's a project. Ten Hag cannot do it all in one season. We've seen the struggles so far this season. It has been difficult at times. But a performance like this, and a display like this, and a setup like this, shows, again, for anyone that was in any doubt at all, that Ten Hag really is the right man for this job. Because give him time, give him the resources, and the players which can play the system even better, United will really look in a good place. So, yeah, this was a positive night for United. As always, it's not quite as good as it looks, you know. They should have killed the game. Brentford did have a chance. They could have got right back into it, and it could have been really frustrating for United. Again, they need to be a bit sharper in the final third, a bit more, a few more connections in the final third, if you like, underlapping runs, things like that. However, in general, the structure put United in a really good place to win this game. Initially using the fullbacks in a bit more of a 2-3 like this. But then as the game goes on, moving into more of a 3-1-6 to kind of create overloads in the final third. Bruno Fernandes setting the tempo from deep. It worked really well. And like I said, when quality players are given the chance to have, 65-70% possession and constantly get forward, eventually they make things happen. And that's exactly what we saw in this game. So I thought Ten Hag set up really well, approached the game really well, got a great result from his side. The players performed well. I actually think even from a psychological point of view, I don't know what would be more important for United, the result or the performance. The result is very important, obviously, for literally the league table. But I think these players having that game where they genuinely outplay the opposition was really important. I don't know the last time we saw that. Obviously, we didn't against Newcastle, Fulham in the Cup before the international break, Southampton, the Liverpool game. United haven't had a game where they've looked in control for a few months now. Even if you go as far back as the Carabao Cup final, they weren't in control in that game, or they certainly weren't in control of the ball, of possession. So I think this would have done the players a lot of good to actually control the ball and try and break a team down. And ultimately they've done that in the end, so it's job done. So overall, a good night for Manchester United. I thought they were deserving of the win. I think every player played well, really. I can't really think of anyone who had a poor performance. Just looking through them now. I mean, De Gea, a couple of his passes towards the last 20 minutes or so weren't so great, but we'll allow him. We know it's not his strength, and I thought for 65 minutes he done it really well. McTominay a little bit quiet, but at times that almost suits him. Bruno Fernandes is probably the midfielder you want on the ball more, and still he's making good driving runs to support the attack. In general, just a good night for Manchester United. They deserve to win. More creativity would be nice, but I'm sure that will come. So that's all I've got to say for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, if you could subscribe while you're here, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's all. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in the next one.